The night sky over Detroit suddenly became a drenched battlefield, as heavy raindrops lashed the pavement like invisible arrows. Amidst the sudden downpour, the green-red flash of a patrol car's lights cut through the darkness, sketching out a pulse-pounding drama. Who could have imagined that what seemed like a routine traffic stop would revive someone's faith and launch a journey that would transform an entire community? In that moment, a young officer, Officer Maria Santos, and an internal affairs specialist, Dr. Samuel Chen, collided at the crossroads of prejudice and truth. Their confrontation began to unveil secrets and impart lessons on duty, transparency, and respect. Join us for the first chapter, where this story begins, to discover the power of heartfelt inquiries and how a single moment can change a whole generation. That weekend night, heavy rain blanketed Detroit, each droplet driving straight into the pavement's puddles under the flickering yellow streetlights. Dr. Samuel Chen, chief of the Internal Affairs Division of the Police Department, guided his sleek black SUV around each slippery bend. He had just left an emergency meeting that had lasted for hours and could only think of getting back to his apartment for a hot cup of coffee. The traffic light turned from green to yellow warning, then blinked red, forcing him to brake as his tires skidded over a pool of water. The storm's roar sounded like war drums, and gusts of wind whipped against the vehicle, startling Samuel when he saw the green-red priority signal of the cruiser behind him. License and registration. Officer Maria Santos's voice rang out over the loudspeaker. Calmly, he steered onto the shoulder, shut off the engine, and opened the door with unhurried composure. Rain drenched his coat, yet Samuel maintained an effortless bearing. Extending his leather wallet containing the requested documents, Santos approached, her expression probing, her flashlight catching the glint of a silver-engraved ring. "Do you know why I stopped you?" she asked sternly. Samuel nodded gently. "I ran a red light, officer." His voice was warm and steady, accepting responsibility. She did not immediately return his documents but frowned and asked, "You just moved here a few weeks ago, didn't you?" Samuel offered a slight smile. "Yes. The address on my license is up to date." She knitted her brows and let her gaze sweep over his immaculate suit. Both the car and his demeanor suggested a careful, professional man. The rain enveloped them as Santos's heartbeat quickened, challenging her to uncover something amiss. That moment froze in harsh silence. Santos tilted her head and asked softly, "Where are you rushing off to?" Samuel replied calmly, "Home to rest after a long day." His simple answer served as a reminder that, even as a police officer, he, too, yearned for peace. The downpour bore witness that every interaction called for mutual respect. Santos inhaled deeply, her fingertip brushing the registration form. Then she said, "Step out of the vehicle and place your hands on the hood." Samuel obediently complied, stepping out with an unhurried gait and head held high. The patrol car's headlights shimmered across his soaked suit, suggesting an unshakable composure. For a moment, Santos crouched and conducted a quick frisk, her fingers pausing at the floral engraved ring. She straightened, surprise and a hint of regret in her eyes. The rain still fell, but the world between them seemed to stand still, leaving only silence, trust, and prejudice at war. When Santos finished the frisk, she stepped back, rain-soaked raincoat clinging to her frame. Samuel stood motionless, his breathing even, not uttering a single word. The headlights cast slanted shadows on the wet pavement, foreshadowing an unresolved confrontation. She looked at him once more, suspicion mingling with curiosity. "Are you carrying a weapon?" Samuel did not answer immediately. He exhaled slowly, his eyes cool yet perceptive as he read the slightest flicker across Santos's face. Finally, he reached into his coat pocket, his index finger tracing the edge of a leather pouch. Santos narrowed her eyes, her pulse quickening. "You," Samuel began, his voice deep and sure. "I am not armed." The streetlight illuminated his composed features. Santos frowned in displeasure. "Then why must I?" Her question faltered as he produced a slim leather wallet. He opened it in his hand to reveal a silver laminated badge inscribed, "Internal Affairs Division, Detroit Police Department." Santos froze, her gaze shifting from the papers to Samuel's face. Seconds passed as she realized her fundamental mistake. Holding the badge up to the light, Samuel spoke clearly. "I am Dr. Samuel Chen, Chief of Internal Affairs." I must investigate incidents like this. You are not merely detaining a motorist but encountering a fellow officer." The rain seemed to soften, leaving only the rhythmic drumming on the hood. Santos pressed her lips tightly, her arm trembling as she held the registration form. She stood stunned in the downpour, raindrops obscuring her eyes, unable to hide her amazement. You're the one in charge here?" she stammered before quickly regaining her composure. "Not to give orders," Samuel replied gently but firmly. "I'm here to ensure justice and transparency. You approached me with an attitude and assumptions unbefitting our professional standards. I hope you now understand your responsibility." Santos bowed her head, feeling the weight of his reproach. She remained silent, letting the gravity of his words fill the cold air. Finally, she slowly withdrew the documents from her raincoat pocket and handed them back. "I'm sorry, I will report this." Samuel nodded, stowed away his wallet and badge, and closed the door. Sitting behind the wheel, he did not start the engine immediately. Instead, he looked through the rearview mirror. Santos stood alone in the rain. Her figure diminished amid the empty street. He tapped the accelerator lightly. The engine growled to life as the taillights flickered and faded into the night. Inside the warm cabin, Samuel exhaled deeply. This was neither the first nor the last time he would remind colleagues to respect citizens. But tonight, the wail of sirens and the green-red flash would haunt Santos, a reminder that authority must be paired with transparency. On his way back to the Internal Affairs office, Samuel gazed at the ceiling of his SUV, wondering what his next move would be. He knew this incident demanded a comprehensive report, not just to log the traffic violation, but to initiate a retraining program and tighten engagement protocols. Only by addressing the root causes could Detroit's police truly rebuild public trust. The next evening, under the glow of the Internal Affairs office sign, Samuel sat drafting the retraining report for Officer Santos. Rain drummed softly against the window as he convened an emergency meeting with the training division and patrol leadership. His report not only detailed every aspect of the stop but also proposed a series of procedural changes for citizen encounters in inclement weather. "We must turn every traffic stop into an opportunity to build trust, not stage a display of power," he emphasized. In the ensuing silence, Maria Santos nodded attentively, her eyes reflecting remorse and determination. Over the following week, Santos attended the retraining course with a transformed demeanor. No longer the confident officer of before but a focused learner absorbing communication techniques and emotional control. Role-playing exercises ranged from sunny day stops to emergency scenarios on winding mountain roads, teaching her the power of respectful language and demeanor. During the feedback session, she admitted, "I forgot that every citizen deserves to be heard and respected." Warm applause greeted her sincerity, proof that reform was taking hold. Samuel and Santos then co-hosted a community forum, listening intently to Detroit residents' candid feedback. Tense expressions gradually softened as Santos stood and apologized for the painful experience of what had seemed a routine stop. The room brimmed with emotion. A tearful elderly man recounted his grandson's unjust detainment, and a young student praised Dr. Chen's courteous conduct. The dialogue closed with applause and smiles, signaling the mending of police-community relations. Meanwhile, on internal bulletins, Samuel published an article titled "Transforming Policing Mindsets," calling on all officers to participate and share real-life stories. By month's end, complaint rates had dropped sharply, and citizen satisfaction scores soared. Santos even received a thank-you letter from a young family who had witnessed her changed approach. Those short messages became both heartfelt gifts and motivation for her continued growth. Still buoyed by applause at the District 8 playground, Samuel Chen and Officer Santos decided to take transparent engagement across Detroit. They organized street corner meetups in pothole-ridden neighborhoods, stepping beyond formal halls to connect with everyday life. Santos introduced the initiative briefly. "I've learned that every citizen deserves to be heard." Her rain-damp eyes and warm tone moved hundreds to tears of shared belief. At East Side Stadium, a silver-haired gentleman shared how his grandchild once feared the cruiser's flashing lights, but now hugged Santos, saying, "You asked if I was okay." Laughter and tears mixed under the drizzle. As Samuel emphasized, we must train not only in issuing commands but in listening and empathy. Chief Morgan of Internal Affairs monitored the metrics. Complaints down 50%. Satisfaction up significantly. He nodded approvingly. We've reached the community's heart. But the journey continues. Plans to expand into 3 more precincts and host quarterly officer-citizen days were approved, promising a more united Detroit. Real-world tests came swiftly. A collision between a patrol car and a motorcycle. Lieutenant Harrison, a new trainee, bent toward the rider. Could you tell me what happened? Rather than demanding compliance. The rider spoke calmly. No complaint was filed, and an accurate report followed. This on-street exercise turned tension into cooperation. Now, every weekend, officers and residents gather at schools, community centers, and markets for ongoing dialogue. Samuel and Santos share pastries brought by local families. Listening to everyday stories, Detroit is writing a new chapter. Justice not just through official reports but through kindness and transparency. Embodying Samuel's mantra, true authority is built on trust and mutual respect. A viral social media moment soon followed. A short video of Santos gently guiding a child through a busy intersection became an inspiration wave. Thousands shared and praised. For once, I see law enforcement as family. Anonymous notes flooded the internal inbox. Thank you for restoring my faith. Samuel was quietly moved, recognizing that a single act of kindness can transform any soul. By mid-month, at an expanded public dialogue at Community Hub, neighborhood representatives convened alongside local businesses, schools, and nonprofits. The theme, Legacy of Compassion, explored how every police footstep imprints positivity on the community. A preschool teacher wept recalling the half-hour Santos spent sitting on the floor drawing with her students, simply to comfort them. Thunderous applause filled the hall, warming everyone's spirits. Samuel and Santos exchanged hopeful glances. They knew challenges remained, more listening, ongoing training, rigorous oversight, but the ember of trust they sparked would never die. Each officer and every citizen was like a small candle that, when lit together, would form a brilliant beacon. On a gleaming Detroit morning, Samuel Chen and Officer Maria Santos stepped down from their patrol car not for coffee but for a brief meeting with the training team. They reviewed pilot results from the Officer-Citizen Days. 85% of volunteers reported feeling safer seeing approachable, attentive officers. Smiles and empathetic eyes provided living proof of change. That Wednesday afternoon in the Jefferson neighborhood, Samuel and Santos led a workshop for junior officers on active listening, a skill vital not only for traffic stops but all interactions. In one scenario, an elderly woman tremulously offered her documents. Rather than demanding, Santos coached trainees. Ma'am, could you tell me about your day? That single open-ended question dissolved her reserve. She smiled and shared her 4-year-old child's story. That night, on his drive home, Samuel reflected. Real change lives in the smallest details. A greeting by name, a sincere nod, or a warm glance can make citizens feel respected. These lessons were woven into the formal curriculum, from patrol officers to office staff, ensuring everyone participated. Detroit would no longer be the city of hollow sirens, but a place of genuine conversations between police and the public. Another milestone came via social media, the viral video of Santos guiding the child. Thousands of comments praised. Finally, law enforcement feels like kin. Anonymous messages read, "Thank you for restoring my trust." Samuel felt a quiet pride, knowing that kindness can change any heart. By month's end, at a closing ceremony in the Central Administration Plaza, residents, nonprofits, small businesses, and schools gathered under hopeful skies for the finale of the Officer-Citizen Days series, Spreading Trust. Warm melodies played through the speakers as footsteps and friendly greetings filled the plaza. Samuel mounted the podium, his gaze warm and steady. We've come a long way, from that first rainy night on Woodward Avenue to today. Our journey is not just about changing procedures but about changing hearts. The plaza fell silent, each heartbeat echoing the power of kindness. Maria followed, her eyes glistening. I once doubted I could bridge bias. But every small gesture, a greeting, a nod, a caring question, has connected police and citizens. Today, I'm proud to be heard and to learn. The crowd erupted in applause and cheers, as if dispelling all lingering gloom. during the awarding of transparent engagement certificates to officers and staff who completed the training. Hundreds of faces beamed with joy. Lieutenant Harrison, honored for his calm response to the street collision, stepped forward. "I've learned that justice lies not in weapons, but in an open heart." Children watching wide-eyed believed that one day, no one would fear the blue-red lights again. Backstage, Samuel inhaled the spring air of the city. A gentle breeze carried floral scents from the central lake. He recalled initial reluctance and resistance. But now barriers had melted away. His heart swelled at the sight of Maria's confident, friendly wave to each passerby. The final act was a release of balloons, each tied with a resident's note, "I believe." As multicolored balloons soared into the sunlight, thousands of hearts rose in a chorus of hope. Samuel turned to Maria, whispering, "We're only just beginning." She nodded, her eyes shining with determination. In that moment, Detroit was not merely a city but a living symbol of harmony between justice and humanity. When authority is tempered by respect, when responsibility is guided by conscience, and when every act is weighed with empathy, trust becomes more than a slogan, it becomes the very breath that unites a community. The story of Samuel and Maria does not end here. It will continue to ripple through alleyways, along every road, in the eyes of struggling families, the laughter of children, and the warmth of shared embraces. Be a witness, be an inspiration for your community. If you find this message worthwhile, please share the video and spread the story. Subscribe to the channel so you won't miss other journeys of passion and humanity. Together, let's build a fairer, kinder world founded on trust.